Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a story that, honestly, even though it's ancient history, is practically the blueprint for our entire modern world. We're diving into Chronoverse, the Roman Empire. Let's look at how the rise, the absolute peak, and the dramatic fall of this unbelievable civilization are literally still echoing all around us right now.
Okay, let's dive right into this. For over 1,000 years, think about that for a second. For over a millennium, a single empire essentially dictated the entire trajectory of the known world. That is 1,000 years of shaping human infrastructure, law, and culture. It's just a staggering, mind-blowing duration of dominance for one civilization.
Part 1. Rise from the Tiber. How they went from a small city to absolute global domination.
Let's move to how this actually builds. This monumental powerhouse grew from just a humble little settlement through intense, systematic expansion. We are talking about the relentless, unstoppable march of highly disciplined legions straight across Europe, down into North Africa, and all the way through the Middle East. They were completely reshaping the map and absorbing all these incredibly diverse cultures right along the way.
But conquest wasn't just about swinging swords, it was really about integration. They laid down this massive permanent physical foundation. We're talking thousands of miles of roads, towering aqueducts, and entirely new cities built from scratch. And the real marvel here isn't just that they built them, it's that this engineering was so incredibly robust, it literally paved the physical and economic pathways for our modern civilization. Some of it is still standing today.
Which brings us to Part 2, Empire at its peak. Unimaginable power.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that at the absolute top of this massive hierarchy sat the emperor. And it's fascinating because there's this extreme duality in wielding that kind of absolute power. I mean, on one hand, some emperors used it to push Rome into these brilliant golden ages of prosperity and reform. But then on the other hand, others yielded to totally unchecked paranoia and became these legendary tyrants, basically destabilizing the exact same system they were supposed to rule.
Yet, regardless of who was sitting on the throne at any given time, the sheer demographic scale was just staggering. Get this, at its zenith, the empire administered the lives of 70 million people. 70 million! To put that into perspective, that meant unifying countless totally different cultures, totally different economies, and local governments under one massive overarching shadow. It's like a giant puzzle they somehow managed to keep together.
But, of course, that leads us to Part 3, the inevitable fall, because as we know, no empire lasts forever.
The unraveling of a superpower of this magnitude wasn't just some single, explosive event out of nowhere. It was really death by 1,000 cuts. First, you had this deep-seated political corruption just rotting out the core. Then, brutal civil wars started fracturing their military stability. Add in a completely collapsing economy and currency, and top it all off with the relentless pressure of external invasions, you've got a perfect storm that slowly but surely bled the state dry.
So, the crucial point here is how this compounding, fatal pressure finally culminated in 476 AD. This is the definitive year the Western Roman Empire finally buckled. After a literal millennium of dominance, the central authority that had anchored the entire known world officially collapsed into history. Which brings us to our final chapter, Part 4, Rome's immortal legacy, the empire that never truly disappeared.
And this brilliantly illustrates something absolutely crucial. Yes, the physical borders may have completely dissolved, but Rome's ideological blueprints, they survived. The Latin roots of the very words we speak, the structural arches in our grandest architecture, and those complex legal frameworks that govern our modern republics, these are all direct descendants of the Roman mind. They are deeply, deeply embedded in our daily lives today.
As the source material so perfectly notes, every era has a story. But the Roman era is entirely unique because it isn't just a closed chapter sitting in some dusty history book. It actually serves as the foundational operating system for Western civilization. Understanding them is, quite literally, understanding ourselves.
Which leaves us with a really profound question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. If its language, its incredible infrastructure, and its laws still dictate so much of how we function today, did the Roman Empire ever truly fall? Sure, the political entity shattered, but its legacy? That is immortal. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep exploring the echoes of history all around us.